Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope we're having a wonderful middle of the week out there, and we've still got a lot to talk about here as this big time storm system we've been forecasting for at least a couple of days now is beginning to slowly work its way ashore out west and eventually likely to impact the East Coast, specifically the southeastern United States, going into this weekend and into early next week, where things definitely could get interesting. Now, the snow chances have definitely gone down from maybe a couple days ago, but there are still a couple solutions that are possible that could lead to some snow for some body, and I'll tell you who that is and kind of what the odds of that happening are later on in the video. Now, I also want to say thank you for all the growth over the past couple of days. We've gained at least a couple hundred subscribers here, and we're knocking on the door to 8,000, and obviously 10,000 is the big goal we've been talking about here, hoping to get there by the end of February. So, again, if you haven't already joined us by subscribing, definitely consider doing so. Hit the like button if you like the video, and comment, let me know where you're watching from. Alrighty, with that said, let's go ahead and jump on into it because, again, I know we all have very busy lives and I don't want to hold you up any longer than I have to. So, taking a look at satellite imagery out there, again, we've got, a pretty obvious kind of elephant in the room on the map, if you will, and that is this big-time storm system just off the west coast, a real chonker, if you will. I was reading a National Weather Service discussion a week or two ago, and they used the term chonker. So, here we go. I'm going to use it too. Might as well. But a real chonker of a storm, if you will, spinning away here off the west coast, bringing really just a big-time atmospheric river of moisture up the west coast right now, and eventually we'll kind of spread that further into the Rockies as we go throughout the next couple of days. Now, back east, things are much quieter. This is that Clipper system we were talking about yesterday that is definitely continuing to bring some scattered showers this morning and afternoon over much of the Carolinas, and will continue to do so throughout the day while slowly working offshore here, off towards the Wilmington area and down into Myrtle Beach and kind of surrounding areas before, again, finally working offshore by the time we get into this evening. Now, taking a look at radar, again, the southeast is kind of one hotspot, if you will, specifically really the Carolinas. We had some rain showers working on through Charlotte, Rock Hill, Columbia this morning, back down towards Florence, over towards Lumberton, seeing some rain. And that also continuing down from Charleston up through, again, Wilmington and kind of into the Outer Banks. Now, that will continue to work offshore as we go through today, so that's the good news. But back out west, it's a much different story. Things are just getting started out here where you'll see, obviously, we have these big areas of precipitation working on in slowly but surely. But the kind of other big thing we need to look at here are the advisories out here. In the pink, we have winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories in the purple, and then we have wind advisories and high wind warnings in these kind of mustard colors, if you will, and into the more beige-brown colors. Those are all kind of wind advisories, at least in the brown, and then again, the mustard colors are high wind warnings. So the storm is going to bring a lot of rain, a lot of snow, and a lot of wind, depending on your elevation, and also some flooding potential. I know it's kind of hard to see, but these green boxes kind of are hidden under some of these brown boxes. So again, you've got wind advisories and flash flood or just flood watches as well for all the rain we're going to see now really through the middle of next week. It's going to be kind of nonstop out here for a lot of folks as we have multiple storm systems slowly kind of work on through this part of the country. Alrighty, let's go ahead and discuss kind of future radar here in the east. Let me back this up enough and get to kind of where we are right now. So here we go. We'll start at about noon today. Again, we have some scattered showers working off the southeast coastline, but outside of that, really a pretty quiet day for much of the eastern half of the country. And as I move this further ahead that continues, and we could even see some higher elevation snow showers up through West Virginia today. Not out of the question, but really more of a flurry event than anything else. Now, by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning on our Thursday, our next storm system is knocking on the doorstep. Another kind of Alberta Clipper here, and this is also that 50-50 low we've been talking about that could potentially help to bring some sort of snow to the southeast early next week. And again, we'll mention that later on in the video. But before it helps bring any kind of snow impacts further south, it has the potential to bring some snow through our day Thursday through much of the interior northeast. And you'll see here, by the time we're getting into Thursday afternoon, we got snow breaking out through New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, through Ontario, Quebec, seeing some snow as well. And as I move this further ahead, overnight Thursday into Friday, again, just some area of scattered snow working on through much of the northeast. We could even see maybe a bit of an isolated, stronger area of snow try to develop, but the NAM at this range tends to kind of overdo the precipitation a little bit, so I wouldn't buy too much into some of this, but just know kind of scattered snow showers throughout Thursday, overnight Thursday. By the time we're waking up Friday morning, scattered snow showers continuing, and again, maybe a bit of a stronger burst of snow. Can't rule that out from the I-95 corridor from Philly up through New York and into Connecticut, but honestly, again, I wouldn't kind of buy too much into that little piece of energy there. And eventually, by the time we're getting into Friday afternoon here, things are quieting down, and again, just kind of some leftover flurries throughout the day. And then that'll set the stage for going into this weekend, that storm system kind of working in out of the west into the East Coast. All right, temperatures this afternoon, again, a pretty average January day here, kind of find where you live on the map. Definitely warm back towards Texas and Oklahoma, where we have some more of that southerly flow kind of dominating, and even up into Kansas. Could kiss 70 today, so definitely nice for this time of the year. But further east into the Ohio River Valley, still holding on to those pretty average January temperatures, with highs only getting near the 40-degree mark. Now, by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, again, most of us getting at or below freezing. And in fact, I would kind of subtract a couple degrees from this map for those low temperatures. But again, just know a relatively normal January morning. Maybe a tad warmer than normal for certain areas, but nothing too out of the normal here. And by the time we're getting into Thursday afternoon, another warm day, likely a little bit warmer than today throughout much of the country, especially back towards Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, as the warm air ahead of that storm system kind of surges northward a little bit here going into our Thursday afternoon. And then eventually waking up Friday morning, again, another chilly morning, but nothing we can't handle for really, I guess at this point, the start of February. All right, now with that said, let's go ahead and discuss the storm system a little bit and kind of what we're looking at on the map, all the players on the field here, and how they're likely to interact to potentially bring us, an impactful system here for much of the country. So here we go. This is, actually, I'm going to go ahead and move this ahead just a little bit more into this afternoon. This is, here we go, Wednesday afternoon and evening. And, we've got multiple players on the field. Obviously, the big storm back out west that I've been mentioning for a while now, that likely, again, slowly working ashore throughout the next couple of days. And then we have that Clipper system also off the southeast coastline this evening as well. Now, as we go closer into this weekend, here we go. This is Thursday afternoon on your map here. If I could stop moving the map. There we go. This is Thursday afternoon. That storm now continuing to work into the west coast. And then here we go into Friday afternoon. Storm working slowly further and further into the east. And eventually, by the time we get into Saturday afternoon, this is where I'm going to pause it a little bit. Now, here we go. The storm system, again, one thing that stayed very consistent here is the track. This is likely to dive, again, through the west coast and then eventually just kind of ride through the Gulf of Mexico. That has not changed. The thing that we've been fighting in the models for us snow lovers is the cold air supply. How are we going to get that cold air into the storm system? Now, there's a couple ways we can get snow in the southeast. There's way number one. That is just having nice high pressure kind of anchored over, sections of the northeast, and then that would normally help to funnel in some cooler air. That hasn't really been showing up on the models. Another way is a 50-50 low, kind of like we're seeing here, but you really want it placed further off to the south and east. And then there's way number 3 to get snow, and this one I think is the most likely at this point if we are to see snow. Now again, snow is more unlikely than likely at this point, unless maybe you're in the higher elevations of North Carolina or Virginia. But way number 3 is kind of getting the two pieces of energy to phase a little bit. So this is piece number 1. This is our kind of wet piece of energy, if you will. That's what's bringing the moisture. This is piece number 2. This is what could potentially bring the cold air. And what you really want to see here is them kind of hook up and connect, or you want to see these isobars around them kind of merge into one storm, if you will. And our latest GFS ensemble members from this morning kind of do that just a little bit. You'll notice here going into next Monday, we kind of see a bit of a connection here. See how these isobars are now kind of all in one, if you will. Now, this isn't a perfect phasing. In fact, we would want to see it a lot more robust than this. But I'll show you later on. Some of our models have now been hinting at maybe a phase between the two, kind of on the latter end. Maybe about February 5th, February 6th. Could maybe see a change over from rain to maybe a quick burst of snow somewhere. Now, that's not set in stone right now. Again, it's just a possibility, but I want you to know not all hope is lost for the storm. Now, again, chances are much lower than they were maybe earlier this week and over the weekend, but the chance for snow is still there for somebody here into the Carolinas and Virginia, just likely not quite as impactful as maybe we were thinking the potential was at least a couple of days ago. And then eventually that storm system finally moves out by the time we get into next Wednesday. And at the same time, here's another storm system working in through California. And we'll have to watch that for more impacts here going into that second week of February. All right, here we go. Let's time it out. Here's the storm system this afternoon. Again, starting out west, seeing very heavy rainfall slowly moving ashore up through Northern California, the coast of Oregon, and into Washington State as well. Seeing some rain kind of throughout much of our Wednesday afternoon. And even going into overnight Wednesday and Thursday. Now, once we get to this point, this precipitation shield is slowly now working into the higher elevations through the Sierra Nevadas, now seeing some big-time snow breaking out here. And I'll tell you, throughout the next week in the Sierra Nevadas, we could be getting, snow in obviously feet, but we could be counting it in people-sized snow. We could see, more than, a 6-foot-tall person in the snow fall over the next week or so. So a lot of snow with this atmospheric river, and I'm sure these ski resorts will be very happy to hear it, again, through much of the higher elevations of California. Now, this is Thursday morning. Again, just widespread scattered rain and snow, obviously elevation dependent here. And that continues here through Thursday afternoon. Now that snow working into Nevada, still snowing in the higher terrains of California, and precipitation becoming a little bit more scattered in nature through Washington, Oregon, and coastal California, but still raining nonetheless here through much of our Thursday afternoon as we just get wave after wave after wave of precipitation here. And eventually, by the time we're waking up Friday morning, now that main piece of energy kind of, still off coast, but we have another piece that kind of breaks off here, and you'll notice that by this kind of higher amounts of precipitation through the four corners, that eventually is what's going to turn into our storm system over the southeast. So again, just kind of a very, wet or snowy pattern over the west coast through the next 48 hours here. And even going further ahead into time here on our GFS model, again starting at Friday morning here, going into Friday afternoon, it's still snowing through much of the Rockies, still raining through much of the lower elevations. Before I think on Saturday we get a little bit of a lull out west, like at least the west coast specifically. At the same time though, our storm system itself now cranking up here. You'll notice we got big time snow falling into the Rocky Mountains of Colorado and Wyoming, again, as that storm slowly cranks up. And again, a little bit of a lull along the coastline itself, but don't get too excited because here we go. Sunday afternoon, another storm system cranks up off the Pacific coast and slowly works inbound, and more snow, more rain on the way for early next week. And that hangs around for a while here. This is Tuesday morning, and then into Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, still snowing here into the higher elevations and raining at the coast before I think finally we get a lull. Not this weekend, but the following weekend. So again, get ready for a good 10-day stretch here of pretty gloomy weather through much of the West Coast, and that's going to bring problems with it, including flooding. In fact, today we already have a risk of excessive rainfall up the California coastline, all the way up through San Francisco and even into the Oregon border there. So again, flooding a concern today, also a concern tomorrow, maybe a little bit further south here through the LA area. San Diego could see some flooding tomorrow, Santa Monica and kind of surrounding areas. So again, have a way to get those flood watches and warnings if those are issued for your area. How much rain are we talking about here? Well, again, it's going to be a pretty healthy dosing, and this is throughout the next 7 days. So this is including the current storm system as well as the storm system early next week. And you'll notice here along the coastline, this is, about half a foot of rain for a lot of folks. Isolated spots here, you'll even see some numbers here getting near 10 inches, especially on those higher terrains in Southern California and into Northern California, kind of along the coast, could really ring out some big-time rainfall totals. So obviously flooding going to be a concern. Now, the rain totals, or the rain in quotation marks that you're seeing here into the Sierra Nevadas, those are just liquid precipitation. Sorry, I cannot talk today. The coffee's not kicked in. Liquid precipitation equivalent here, but this would actually be snowfall. So if you see 8 inches of rain here, maybe multiply that by 10, and that's about how many inches of snow. So about 80 inches of snow. And I'll show you the snow map here next. But again, just kind of ignore that in terms of actual rainfall. It's just liquid equivalent. All right, now speaking of the snow, again, a lot on the way here. We'll start up into the northern Rockies, Idaho, Montana, and into the mountains of Wyoming, and even into the higher terrains of Washington and Oregon. Plenty of snow on the way, so get excited if you got any ski trips planned. Definitely going to be a great time to do it here through this part of the country. But the real winners, again, down into the Sierra Nevadas, where you'll notice these snowfall totals are quite literally off the charts. In fact, the numbers here end, I think, at 64 inches or so, and we've got totals here that are just kind of, completely white. 105 inches of snow here on this, onto some of the highest peaks here. So again, we see these storms, once a year or so, or maybe a couple times a year. This is one of them with this atmospheric river. Again, over the next 10 days or so, pretty ridiculous amounts of snowfall out this way. And unfortunately, us into the Carolinas, we couldn't buy an inch of snow if we tried. And out here into California, they're probably wishing they could get a little bit less. So just kind of how the climate works, and we'll continue to work with it, and I'm sure we'll still get some snow in the Carolinas eventually this winter. Still got a good month or two left before kind of our chances are out the window. Speaking of no snow in the Carolinas, though, let's go ahead and now look eastbound and take a look at what's on the way. Now, this is Friday afternoon. You'll notice things are still quiet. So now through the rest of this work week and even into Saturday for most folks at least, a pretty nice time to get anything done you might want to get done. The rain should still not really be an impact. But as we do go into this weekend and into Saturday afternoon, here's the storm system on our latest GFS model, continuing to crank away back out into the south central plains. You'll notice it's raining through Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska. And eventually here, going into our Sunday afternoon, that storm system slowly slides off towards the south and east. Now, this is when things kind of get a little bit more interesting. Obviously, we've got the precipitation here, and up north, we've got that feed of cold air. Here it is. These are those blue isobars, kind of, again, wrapped around that 50-50 low we've been talking about. And you'll notice, again, just too far for any snow. So we start with just a good old-fashioned cold rain through Sunday, and this is into Monday afternoon. You'll notice we've still got, just a lot of cold rain. Now, something we've seen on the latest GFS and as well as our Canadian model, which I'll show you in a second, that is piquing my interest a little bit, I'll definitely say, is kind of this going from next Monday into Tuesday. I think no matter what, Sunday is going to be just rain. No snow for really anybody. Same story for Saturday, those of you that see the rain. But going into Monday afternoon, evening, and Tuesday, notice things change a little bit. These kind of blue isobars are working a little bit closer to the storm. And also, we're getting some pretty impressive cold air damming. The isobars are now kind of shaped like this, kind of arcing down into the Carolinas, indicating a feed of cold air. Now, this isn't Arctic cold. This is still very marginal cold air. But what happens here is the storm system and that 50-50 low kind of begin to interact a little bit. And as I mentioned, kind of hook up a little bit. Now, this is overnight Monday into Tuesday. The storm at this point is now slowly working offshore, but look at this 540 line, or this kind of rain-snow line. It's now getting down into Danville, Greensboro, and the storm system is not far off. It's just off the Carolina coastline. It's still raining, in fact, through Wilmington, Charleston, Columbia, up through Greenville, North Carolina, and eventually what happens is this storm finally wraps in that cold air around it. It's just a little too late, and I mean about 6 to 12 hours too late. So it's close. In fact, it's much closer than yesterday. This is a better look on the operational run, at least, than we saw yesterday. Again, not a ballpark home run kind of look, but it's enough that we need to continue to watch it, I guess is what I should say here. Still, snow is not as likely as rain. But again, the ingredients are there that we could get a quick burst of snow on the backside. Now, if it does snow, and in fact, I'll show you on the Canadian model here in just a second, which does show kind of the two pieces of energy hooking up a little bit better, it won't quite be a blockbuster snowstorm like many folks might be hoping for. So here we go. Starting the same way on the Canadian model, starts raining back out into the plains on Saturday, and then here we go Sunday afternoon. Here comes a storm, pretty much identical look to the GFS. And then what happens here is the storm is a little bit further north. It's a little more kind of elongated in look, and it's a little closer to that 50-50 low. So what happens here is they're a little more likely to interact here. That cold air up north now kind of funneling into the storm overnight Monday into Tuesday. And you'll notice here by Tuesday morning, we've got some snow breaking out through the mountains of North Carolina, Virginia, even into the Triad a little bit. Some wet snowflakes kind of trying to mix in with that rain. And that's not what I wanted. Sorry. Don't know what that is. I guess I clicked the wrong button. It looks like I completely closed the tab. Okay. Sorry. We'll try that again. Okay, here we go. Sorry, the production quality on this video is not great today. I don't know. It happens. We all have a bad day every now and then. So anyway, as I was saying, Tuesday morning, yeah, that cold air funneling into the storm system here a little bit as the two pieces of energy begin to interact a little bit more. And here we go. We've now got snow on the backside breaking out Tuesday afternoon, February 6th, through the Charlotte area, back up towards Raleigh, kind of here into eastern North Carolina, and even eventually some wet snow trying to mix in down from Florence, even down and even close towards the low country of South Carolina, trying to get a little bit of snow there at the end. Now, what I will mention is even if we see this scenario, which is kind of one of the more bullish scenarios right now, likely most of that snow not sticking. It would likely be snowing at about 34, 33 degrees, and it might stick on the grass, maybe some elevated surfaces, but it would be more of a novelty event than an impact event, which, all things considered, would still be a pretty big deal in the Carolinas. We haven't seen snow in about 800 days or so through many major cities outside of the mountains here. So, any kind of snow is worth mentioning, and we'll continue to watch it. But again, just know the snowy potential is there. It's just not as likely as it was a couple of days ago. All right, and I will also show you the European model. The European model, I will go ahead and just tell you right now, is not nearly as exciting as the other two. In fact, it's even a lot less wet. So here we are Monday afternoon, just kind of some scattered rain working on through. Maybe some scattered rain-snow mix in the mountains of North Carolina, but all things considered here, really just a kind of rainy day through much of the Carolinas on Monday, and those two pieces of energy don't even really get close on the European model, at least compared to our GFS and our Canadian model. So again, European, really not much to talk about at all there. Now, if we take a look at our ensembles, again, I love showing ensembles. Percent chance of at least an inch of snowfall here with the GFS ensembles. Well, here we go. This is Monday afternoon and eventually into overnight Monday into Tuesday. Still highlighting a bullseye here of about a 1 in 5, 1 in 4 shot of seeing some snowflakes fly here, specifically into North Carolina, where, again, some of these areas are getting even a little bit higher, specifically the higher terrains here clocking in at about a 1 in 3 shot. So, again, not great. But maybe better than nothing here. So again, nothing off the charts here. About a 16% chance of accumulating snow in Charlotte, about a 20% chance up into the Triad, and then lower as you get further south into South Carolina, and then a basically non-existent chance down into Columbia and areas southbound. And then I'll mention that kind of hangs around for a little bit going into that Tuesday before finally clearing out going into next Wednesday or Thursday. All right, Canadian and its ensembles. Again, this is the one that showed more snow than the others. Well, its ensemble members are not nearly as excited, but I will mention, again, a bit of a bullseye here into western North Carolina, southwestern Virginia, and then up into the Danville area and into the Triad. A little bit of a higher chance to maybe back down towards Charlotte, into Raleigh, and then into South Carolina. Again, chances much lower. European model and its ensemble members, again, really just not much of anything. It's showing some chances back up into the mountains of North Carolina, and even then, those chances are pretty slim. So not really what you want to see if you're a snow lover, and again, unfortunately, it looked a lot better a couple days ago, but we'll continue to monitor it. Anything can change. Again, like I showed you the Canadian model, there are still solutions that get close to maybe a quick change over to wet snow on the backside of the storm. But right now, really not much of an impactful event by any means here showing up on the models. All right, if we blend all of our models together, everything the National Weather Service uses, and put it together, what kind of snowfall totals could we potentially be looking at if it does snow at all? Again, the highest chances out into western North Carolina, but even then, likely only a 1, maybe 2-inch snow event for the higher elevations. And then again, indicating maybe some snowflakes try to mix in here, into Greenville, Spartanburg, up through Charlotte and into the Triad. But even then, chances really just aren't that high. So, we'll continue to monitor it, and I'll keep you updated here through the next couple of days. And again, we are still about 5 days away, so things are going to change, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. In fact, maybe it doesn't rain at all like the European kind of shows for a lot of folks. So we'll definitely watch it, and we will see what happens. Alrighty, I am sorry this video felt like it really did not go all that well. I couldn't speak at the time, and then I pulled up some random advertisement there. But, we all have good days and bad days. I'm sure you all can relate to that, and we'll take the good with the bad, and we'll try it all again tomorrow. With that said, though, again, I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll see you all tomorrow.